Good morning, everybody. Today and for the next 4 days, we're going to hear the evidence of one witness, Jim Boyling, HN 14. Almost all of the evidence will be heard and broadcast live, but with a 10-minute delay. Those with recording devices may use them to report what they hear in the hearing room, but only after 10 minutes have elapsed since the event that they're reporting. They may not be used for photography or recording. It is very likely that there will be one or more passages of private evidence for the purpose of protecting the interests of others. If and when that arises, I will say something separately about it. Yes.
Would you please stand and repeat after me? I do solemnly, sincerely and truly, declare and affirm that the evidence I shall give, shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Could you give us your full name, please?
Andrew James Boyling.
Are the contents of your witness statement dated the 13th of December 2023 true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, they are.
You say in that statement in relation to your recruitment to the SDS, I joined the SDS because I was attracted to the opportunity of undertaking a role being a different version of yourself. I considered this would be a challenging and different role within the police, and there was an existential attraction to what would happen if you followed a different path. Can you explain to us what you meant by that?
I think people are selected for roles within the SDS that they're particularly suited for. And I think for quite a few of us, you sort of regarded it as an opportunity to live your life as it might have been if you'd gone down a different path, I think.
And what did that mean for you in practice when you deployed into ultimately reclaim the streets?
Well, this was what used to be described as a lifestyle field. So it's sort of about 90% lifestyle and 10% politics, I think. You can't just do the politics. So for me, I lived that life all the time for about 5 years.
And what was the attraction of doing so?
I think the opportunity to be another version of yourself.
And is that what you meant by existential?
Yes.
Was it to some extent living a fantasy?
No, I don't think so. I think I think a lot of people contemplate how their life might have been if they'd followed a different path. And I just saw this as an opportunity to do that. I don't think it was a fantasy. I was still only being myself, but I was being myself in different circumstances, I think.
Were you attracted to the lifestyle?
I found it very comfortable. By which I mean it suited me quite easily. I could easily have seen a situation in which I was that person.
During the course, before you were recruited, did you speak to the officer we call HN9?
I don't know whereabouts in this paper that is, so I don't know who that is. Oh, hang on. Yes, I did.
In broad terms, what did HN9 say to you about life in the SDS?
He explained to me that it was a full-time commitment for a number of years, that it wasn't a case of going in and playing a scenario and then going home again. It was a sort of full-time commitment. and that it changed people who did it.
Did he say anything to you about the level of immersion into the lifestyle involving having sexual relations with activists?
I think it might have been HN9. I mean, this is a long time ago, so I think it might have been him who said to me first that there were sort of three principal areas that long-term UCs tended to have problems with, and that they were relationships, drug use and involvement in crime, and that it was very unusual to meet anybody who'd gone through a long-term deployment without having problems of some sort with at least two, if not all of those. I might be attributing that to him wrongly. It might have been somebody else, but I think it was him.
And what did HN9 say to you about problems with relationships?
Just that it was an area fraught with difficulty.
Did you explore that with HN9?
No.
Were you not curious?
Well, I was already aware that long-term undercover officers had relationships before I had anything to do with undercover policing myself. It wasn't a secret that was often the case with long-term deployments.
Without uttering any names, how did you know that?
Well, to begin with, I think it was in public domain. I think before I was involved in the police, I remember reading newspaper stories where I think there was a very well-known drugs job years ago where it was alleged that the reason police had good intelligence was because one of the officers was in a relationship with one of the suspects. It wasn't a big news story at the time. I think it just said, the officer denied it, and you sort of thought, well, he probably would. But I was certainly aware of it. I didn't think it was. I didn't think it was a secret, particularly that long-term UCs sometimes had relationships.
Had anybody said anything to you about SDS officers having sexual relationships undercover?
I can't remember. I think I was certainly aware that some had, but I'm not sure. Some of the ones that had gone before me are quite well known to have done so, but I can't remember if somebody said that to me or before I started, or if it's something I've become aware of after I started, specific to specific officers.
I appreciate it's a long time ago, but can I take it from your evidence that your recollection is that within special branch circles it was known before you joined the SDS that sometimes SDS officers got involved sexually with activists?
Yes.
How widespread was that knowledge?
Well, might be easiest to say that when I started, and you did about 6 months preparation in the back office, there were some cases documented in the files there that had been referred up to sort of senior management level. And I was aware that the then head of special branch, I think he's since said in public anyway that they were regarded as inevitable in some long-term deployments. And certainly in the files in the office, there were 2 or 3 cases where that had come up and they'd been sympathetically dealt with.
I'll come to the files in a moment, but in what you'd gathered before you joined the SDS, can you help us with how widespread knowledge was within Special Branch that this was happening?
I can't particularly. It wasn't. This unit was considered a secret unit, so it wasn't sort of openly discussed. But I was certainly aware, not just on SDS but other police units, that wasn't so unusual. I'm sorry if I can't remember a precise moment when I've sort of become aware of it.
When you say so unusual, you've referred to one case that was in the media. Were there other cases?
I mean, there were certainly 2 or 3 within SDS that I was aware of, either before I was being recruited or around that time, and that were well documented in the back office files, and quite candidly documented.
Right. I'm going to come back to those in a little moment. Okay. Before we do that, was there a time when D.I. Lambert visited you and your then wife? Was that at your home?
Yes.
When he visited, was there any suggestion or understanding that the deployment would or might involve your having sex with someone other than your then wife?
No.
Given what you already knew, did it cross your mind that there might be?
I remember it was sort of suggested to me that in lifestyle groups, particularly sort of animal rights and anarchist groups, it's very common, because it tends to be more common in some lifestyle areas than other deployments. But I genuinely didn't think it would be a problem for me, because it's not something that I anticipated getting involved in.
Why not?
Well, to begin with, at the time when I was being recruited, I was still married. But also, I thought it would be easy to avoid. And I thought that when people didn't avoid it, there was probably an element of them not maybe embracing the life voluntarily or whatever. I just didn't think it would be that difficult to avoid. And then I was aware, having been deployed, that it's very different to how it appears from the outside.
Did you discuss the risk of, or the possibility of having sex with someone in your undercover identity with your then wife?
No.
Why not?
As I've just said, I didn't think it was a very likely scenario.
How stable was your relationship at that time?
Well, I thought it was pretty good, but I was obviously mistaken.
And so would it be fair to say that Detective Inspector Lambert came away with the impression that you were in a stable marriage?
Yeah, that was very much their expectation for people who were recruited onto the team, yeah.
Can I move on now to some of the discussions that you had whilst you were in the SDS, but before you had deployed? You've said in your witness statement that you spoke to Andy Coles, and he said something to the effect that sexual relationship was going to happen. Is that right?
I think so. I'm asked to remember precise conversations from 30 years ago, so I'm not sure that I remember accurately what somebody said.
Did he give you the, accepting it's a long time ago and verbatim recollection is asking perhaps too much, did he give you the impression in conversation that sexual relationships were going to happen?
I can't be specific. I really would like to be, but you're asking me exactly what the nuance of a conversation was from 30 years ago, and if he remembers it or doesn't remember it at all, then I can't contradict.
What is your recollection?
I think there were a few officers who were deployed ahead of me, so senior people because when you're deployed, you speak to officers who are already in the field, have been there for a while, and there were certainly some officers who were sort of reasonably candid about aspects of it that are now very openly controversial. Involvement in crime, drugs and relationships being the classic 3, I suppose. And I was certainly aware that some of the officers who were already deployed appeared to me that they were in some sort of relationship. But it's quite difficult because I can't remember a specific point at which I thought that for any particular officer. I think sometimes you just become aware that somebody is.
Did Andrew Cole say anything to you about his sexual conduct undercover?
No. Well, not that I remember. Anyway.
According to your witness statement, the conversation arose because Mr. Coles had written the relevant section in the trade graph manual.
I think he wrote it.
Did you speak to Mr. Coles because you had read that section?
No, I don't think I spoke to him specifically about that at all.
Did you engage anybody in conversation about the topic of sexual relationships?
I don't remember doing so, but I would be surprised if I didn't.
Did the impression that it was going to happen influence your attitude to sex in your undercover identity?
No, I thought I'd be able to avoid it.
What advice did the officer we are calling HN1 and who used the cover name Matt Rayner give you?
On this issue specifically?
Yes.
I can't remember having a particular conversation about this issue, particularly with him. No, I think probably similar, that it would be difficult to avoid. But this would have been in about 1996, 95.
Before or after you deployed?
But he was my appointed field mentor, so he was the person I was to go to for advice on anything difficult. So I would have discussed these areas with him. I know it seems odd now, sat in this inquiry, that the issue of relationships was not seen as going to be the thing that's going to bring SDS into disrepute in front of an inquiry. It was just one more aspect of a very complicated job. So I would have been discussing all sorts of aspects of it with that officer. Not specifically, we wouldn't have focused in on...
No, that's understood, but what I'm driving at is what did he say to you on that topic?
I don't remember specifically what he would have said to me on that topic, sorry.
What advice did DCI Edmondson give you?
I don't remember ever discussing this with DCI Edmondson.
Did you get any impression as to DCI Edmondson's approach to sexual relationships?
No.
D.I. Lambert?
I can't remember discussing it with D.I. Lambert in this period.
We'll come to later in due course. Did you know at that time that D.I. Lambert had himself got involved sexually with people whilst undercover?
No.
Sergeant McIntosh?
No, he was the sort of admin man who dealt with the finances. I wouldn't have discussed operational matters with him.
Sergeant Webb?
Don't remember discussing it with him, but I mean, we wouldn't have. I don't remember any conversation where we sat down and discussed this specifically as an isolated topic.
I'm interested in any conversation at all, however it arose.
I mean, I don't remember a specific conversation, or I don't remember words used in a conversation all that time ago. I think...
Gists or impressions will do.
Yeah, I mean, I remember Pete Francis being quite open about it, for instance, which is ironic. And I remember Pete Francis talking about other officers as well.
Going to come to him in a moment,
okay.
But just with Sergeant Webb.
I don't recall having a specific conversation with him about this.
Peter Francis, you say he was open. Could you explain how open?
Sometimes we would have meetings where all the officers would come in together, and occasionally we'd go for a drink afterwards if there was a quiet pub to go to. And I was certainly aware that Pete Francis had one or two relationships when he was in the field, but I don't. Yeah, I can't remember. If you can ask me, how did he tell me? I don't recall him bringing it up specifically. I think I was just aware of it, and I was aware of him commenting that other officers did.
Did he say, was what he was communicating to you that he was in relationships or that he was having one-night stands?
Oh, I wouldn't have known the difference.
And what was the reaction of your colleagues to Mr. Francis bringing up this topic of conversation?
I don't recall any reaction particularly.
And did he speak openly about his sexual activity undercover in front of managers?
I very much doubt it. I think, if it helps you at all, the attitude of the office was largely, I would have described as an understanding that, particularly for people in lifestyle fields, there are areas of it that they didn't wish to openly discuss, that officers would be invited to resolve themselves or by speaking to their field mentor. So maybe, I guess if I was being cynical, I'd say a sort of a don't ask, don't tell sort of policy probably best represents it.
Let's just examine that a little bit. How much asking was there?
None at all. I don't recall ever being asked. There were cases when I was in the field where the question was very pointedly not asked, for instance.
For example, being careful about names? Occasionally, for instance, you would get surveillance photographs or photographs from a demo that had been sent out for known organisers to be identified. And I remember once one of the photographs showed me with, I think it was Monica, and we were obviously a couple in the photograph. But there was nobody asked about that. Being careful about ciphers, which managers saw those photographs?
I think that was HN 52.
Do you mean HN 53?
No, I mean HN 52.
52. A DI or a DCI?
A DS.
A DS. Mm. Did a DI or a DCI see it?
Probably, but it was from that officer that I was given the photographs, I think, for instance. I mean, possibly he hadn't looked through them very closely, but there weren't very many there. So there would be instances like that where you were aware that someone's steering clear of it.
Can you recall which demonstration that was?
No, but it was very small action, I think. There weren't many people in the photos. It wasn't a big event.
Can you recall approximately when it was?
Well, the relationship was quite short, so 97, maybe.
Can you remember when in 97?
No, I'm not even sure I've got the right year. I think 97.
In terms of acknowledgement that it was happening, what signs were there that managers knew it was happening, even if they were not inviting discussion about it?
Yes.
Can you help us what the signs were?
Not really. Not really. I remember sort of not.
What's the basis for saying yes?
Yeah. I do remember, for instance, that I went to an Animal Liberation Front gathering, and there was some suggestion that another unit might have been trying to provide some sort of coverage of my vehicle, which was a van, which I was sleeping in the back of and living in the back of. And I think there was some sort of comment about that's going to be sort of an invasion of privacy. Yeah, but with the sort of the implication that that's not an area they want to be looking too closely at, I think. So.
Was that at a time when you were in a sexual relationship?
Yes, although not at that gathering.
Can you help us locate that in time? Which of the women were you in a relationship with at that time? Being careful about ciphers.
I'm not sure I've got... I think it was probably Ruth, but she wasn't at that gathering.
And are you able to help us with whether the sensitivity was because you might be having a sexual relationship or because it was known that you were?
Probably might be.
Can we now move to the topic we touched on earlier, the reading of files?
Mm-hmm.
Starting first of all, what files were you reading that gave you to understand there had previously been sexual relationships involving SDS officers undercover?
I can't find them in the cipher list here, actually.
If you can't find a name in the cipher list, could you write it down, please?
Thank you. Both of them names that have been published.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mike Chitty and John Dines.
Yes. Sorry, I wasn't aware that they'd been published.
Better safe than sorry.
Okay.
The question I was asking was aimed at understanding which files were you reading and why were you reading them?
When you prepared for deployment, you worked in the back office, which is sort of the clerical area, very small office. It was a very secure room, and it also contained the operational files. One has a tendency when you're in a room with a lot of files to look, and not much to do, to look through them and see what's of interest there. There was a file there on Mike Chitty and what happened with him after he'd finished his deployment that Bob Lambert had written. That was a very compelling read. And there was some material there about John Dines as well. I can't remember at what stage that was at then, but those two particularly, for instance, were quite well documented in the files.
And from reading those files, what impression did you gain about the attitude of management to sexual relationships undercover? That
it was something which might inevitably arise and should be managed. I think in both cases it was very sympathetically dealt with. I think there was at least one other as well that I read. It wasn't just those two. There were others.
Can you, without uttering the name,
I can't remember the name.
Can you remember?
I can't remember the name. It was going back further in time. It was someone who'd had a long deployment and then gone missing in their long deployment and not returned to policing at all.
When you say in your witness statement that you became aware that short-term relationships had often occurred, can you help us with a little more detail about how you came across that knowledge?
You're going to ask me to be specific again about something an awfully long time ago. I looked through the files. You'd listen to what people were discussing in the office. You'd listen to field officers discussing it. But you're going to ask me again for a specific example, and I can't confidently come up with one for that long ago. I'm sorry.
In conversations you were having with then current UCOs, the sort of conversation you've described in which Mr. Francis was talking about his sexual activity undercover, did anybody else speak about theirs?
I'm sure they did, but I can't be accurate about what they might have said, which is what you're going to ask me.
Are you confident that the topic did arise?
Oh, yes, but probably not with the import which you would now expect.
Because it was just one of many issues?
Yes.
And not regarded as anything particularly problematic?
Potentially problematic, because it had been problematic in the case of John Dimes and Mike Chitty, for instance.
I mean, did you come away from reading those two files thinking, I shouldn't do that?
I think I came away from reading those two files thinking this is a potentially problematic area which will hopefully not affect me at all, ironically.
You build a cover legend.
Yes.
Did you build anything into your legend to deter sexual relationships?
Yes. A girlfriend, my ex-wife, one that Bob Lambert had met, had previously lived and worked in Copenhagen in the early years of our marriage. So I used to go there a great deal, spent a lot of time there. So I built into my legend the idea that I had a girlfriend living in Copenhagen. And I was sort of advised to do this as a way of avoiding getting into a relationship in the field.
Being careful of ciphers, who advised you to do that?
I don't think I need a cipher. I think that was Bob Lambert.
When you deployed, did you ever use that part of your backstory?
Yes, very much. Very much.
You describe in your witness statement trying to create the background of someone who had been adopted to ensure that the name would not be found in a search of the birth register.
Yes.
And that you've written, therefore, the name I selected needed to be broadly consistent with a number of entries.
Yes.
Can I take it from that you did inspect the register of births and deaths?
Yes.
And when you did so, looking to make your cover ID broadly consistent, did you use any detail or fact from any birth certificate in the construction of your cover identity?
No, I didn't need to. That wasn't the way mine was done. So they were trying to avoid the scenario where someone can be confronted with proof of their own death. And obviously the method of inventing a background by using someone who died in childhood is so well known and so heavily used in all sorts of areas that was to be avoided. So my background was that I'd been adopted at a young age, but I didn't need to choose a specific adoption because one of the aspects, I based it on a friend of mine in real life, and one of the aspects of adoption is that the surname isn't necessarily going to be the one at birth or the one on the adoption certificate. So my background was that the name I was using, which was Sutton, had been changed later after my adoptive parents had split up and I'd reverted to my adoptive mother's name. So that meant that there should be no specific certificate for any of those identities, and that someone trying to research into that identity would sort of lose themselves in a sea of possibles.
Am I understanding you correctly that you went to inspect the certificates to
Yes.
ensure that there wasn't one in your fictitious name?
Well, I was trying to make sure there wasn't one that was an exact match for that name and my date of birth.
And were you looking for anything else?
No, I was looking for someone who one of their first names would be James, because that's my name, so the name I use. I don't think I was anything else specifically.
So, to be clear, were you looking for a certificate that had the name James?
No. There should be no specific certificate relating to me. I was looking for a name which could present you with several possibilities, so that somebody doing a hostile inquiry into that background could not categorically disprove it.
So were you hoping to set a trail such that someone looking would find a birth certificate which might set them thinking but would go nowhere?
Well, this is what actually happened, because my ex-wife, Rosa, did do such a hostile inquiry, and I think she showed me, I think she had about 5 birth certificates that she had pulled out of the system, trying to identify if I was any of those people, and had realised that none of them matched me. They were all different. So she couldn't find a certificate which matched me in the details that she knew of my cover identity.
And am I understanding it correctly? You had specifically gone
To set that out, yes.
to set that up,
Yes.
and you'd looked at the birth certificates.
Yes.
Who instructed you to do that?
I think that was in discussions with D.I. Lambert and DCI Edmondson.
Going to move now to your early reporting. One of the first reports we've got is that it's an MPS number 301013. It's at tab C2, sir. This is a report which is attributed to you about an RTS street party dated the 21st of April 1995. I'll give you a moment to look at the text on that page.
Okay.
So it appears to be reporting on preparations for the 6th of June 1995. Can you recall, did you attend that RTS event?
I was one. I'm not sure if this is the same one that I was involved with. The year seems to be wrong. No, if it's. I'm not sure. The year is different to my recollection, but must be correct on the report, I guess. In which case, yes, I did.
And in what circumstances did you come to be involved with RTS so early in your SDS career?
This is what the problem I'm having with the date of this report, because I think this event took place, but I'm not sure that's the right year.
Right, okay.
I'm sorry about that. But there was, if it helps you at all, at one stage, RTS did a South London and a North London event. I was involved in organising the South London event, and I drove the sound system truck. that was quite a large event, and I don't recall it being this early in my deployment.
No.
It would have been a couple of years in, so I'm confused by the date.
We will be coming to that, and it was further down the line.
Okay.
Do you have any recollection now of attending an RTS street party in the summer of 1995?
No, I think that's too early.
Could we take that down now, please? Could we have up 245307, tab C4, sir? This is when it's up a report about East London animal rights and a meeting on the 13th of July 1995. I'll just wait for it to come up. Thank you. Could we have it expanded so we can see from the date time down to the signature block? Slightly bigger, please. Thank you. Give you a moment to refresh your memory about that report.
No, I already have done, that's fine.
East London animal rights. Was this your first involvement with that group?
That looks likely from the date, yes.
Can you help us with how you came to be at that meeting?
I approached them at a stall they'd been doing in East London.
And were you specifically seeking to get access to East London animal rights, or was this opportunistic?
No, I was specifically looking to gain access to East London animal rights and the East London and Essex hunt sabs as part of my initial tasking.
And why were those groups that you wished to get involved with?
It was in relation to Operation Gant. Do you want me to tell you what that is, or are you familiar with it?
Just one moment, please. I will want you to tell me, but before we do that, can we take the YouTube feed down, please? And Thank you. This is a report dated the 24th of July 1995 about an event relating to the M11 campaign. But in the first sentence it says, despite fairly extensive publicity, this planned occupation of the M11 worksite was very poorly attended, possibly being adversely affected by the previous day's Reclaim the Streets fracas in Islington, which resulted in violent confrontation with the police. Were you at the 23rd of July 1995 RTS party street party in Islington?
No, I was actually out on a hunt, Sab.
If we can zoom back out again, please. You are reporting here on the Wanstead Environmental Centre and the No M11 Link Road campaign. In what circumstances did you come to report about them?
I think I was given a tasking to look into it, I think.
Specifically?
I was certainly sent along there. It might well have been the Reclaim the Streets in Islington was something of a sort of game changer for police, because it was a much bigger event than they'd had previously, and the disorder was much more serious. And I think they drove a tank into the middle of Islington and blockaded roads with scaffolding. The police had no idea about the event at all, and so Special Branch were given a tasking immediately on that group. This might have been the first this is very early in my deployment, in fact, literally right at the beginning, so I think they might have thought at the time, well, perhaps go along to this and see if that's of any interest.
I'll accept that digression.
Sorry.
And let's follow that theme. Was the street party in Islington and the disorder which followed it the catalyst for your being directed to take interest in RTS?
Yes.
And was it that you should move exclusively to RTS or try and ride two horses, animal rights and RTS at the same time?
The latter.
Coming back now to the Wanstead Environmental Centre, my question was, were you specifically tasked to get involved with the Wanstead Environmental Centre and the No M11 Link Road campaign?
No, I think my tasking was probably to go along and see if it looked like it might be a doorway into Reclaim the Streets.
So soon after the event?
Well, the publicity for the event, or the Special Branch knew about the event in advance but didn't know where it was going to be. I don't think I had a specific operational tasking into those two groups, but I could be wrong.
How involved did you get with the Wanstead Environmental Centre?
I don't recall ever going there again.
How involved did you get with the No M11 Link Road campaign?
I don't recall ever doing any of their events other than this one. It was very small scale and didn't seem to be of interest to us.
Did you witness any criminal activity by either the Wanstead Environmental Centre or the No M11 Link Road campaign in your fleeting acquaintance with them?
Not that I can recall.
Can we take that down now, please? Can we go to 746027? That's volume 3, tab C9, sir. If we go over the page. This is a report dated the 10th of September 1995 about the East London and Essex Hunt Saboteurs Association, who were holding a meeting about the forthcoming detectives who he says were hired by McDonald's to infiltrate London Greenpeace meetings in order to positively identify Helen Steele, Dave Morris and the 3 other would-be defendants as authors of the relevant leaflet. Was one of the 3 others John Dines in his undercover identity John Barker?
I don't know. That was before my time, I'm afraid.
Even if it was before your time, did anyone ever say that one of the then proposed defendants was John Dines in his cover identity?
Not that I remember, but it wasn't a particular area of interest for me.
Can we take that down now, please, and have up 245749, tab C21. This is a report dated the 3rd of December 1995 about a Hunt Saboteur Association meeting, the Essex Regional Meeting. Could we have the 3rd paragraph down, please? I'll give you a moment to refresh your memory, but it's the passage about the huntsman being pulled from his horse and the person believed to be responsible that I'm interested in.
Okay.
You've written, Ben Leamy, believed to be the person responsible for the attack, was not present at the meeting and could not defend the action. Were you an eyewitness to the huntsman being pulled off his horse?
I don't remember this at all.
Did anybody...
Possibly.
So,
Possibly I was. I was present at a lot of SABs, but...
Well, it says believed to be.
Yeah.
If you'd been an eyewitness, presumably it would have been put much more...
Well, if I'd seen the attack, I might have been present at the event, but not seen this incident, is what I meant.
Did anyone tell you that they had personally witnessed Mr. Leamy doing that?
I don't remember, sorry.
Could we take that down, please? Could we have from tab C57 246340? If we could expand the text of this June 96 report.
Mm-hmm.
Give you a moment to look at it.
Okay.
So this is about a private email conference news group called Amanzi.
Yeah.
And you're reporting about Ben Leamy's connections with that group.
Yeah.
Were you ever a member of the Amanzi email conference news group?
I think I was. I was. I had a computer when I first started in the field, so I might well have been on it. Certainly, probably because I had a computer, that I would have been aware of it. So quite possibly.
And did you report its communications?
I mean, if there was anything of interest, I would have done.
Were the group's communications used for any criminal purpose?
I don't remember any specific communications.
And presumably, if it had been, that A would have stuck in your mind?
I became aware quite early that there was a security risk for me in relation to that group. I'm not sure you're going to want me to go into that particularly.
Well,
I could talk about it in a general term, if that helps.
My question is, If they'd been doing anything specifically criminal, you would have remembered.
No, not necessarily. This is, what year is this?
96.
96, 30 years ago, so no, not specifically.
And would have been specifically reported.
If it was relevant.
How did you get into this private group?
I think Ben invited me on. If I was part of it, I'm not even sure I was part of it.
Did you get any advice and guidance about joining email groups and becoming involved in private electronic communications?
From who?
From your managers?
No. But this was the very early days of internet, very early days.
Did anyone mention the legislation controlling access to computers?
No.
Can we take that down now, please? So would this be a convenient moment to take the morning break?
Certainly. As you probably know already, we have breaks of about 15 minutes in the middle of sessions so that the shorthand writers can rest and so that you can.
Thank you.
We'll resume in a quarter of an hour.
going to return now to the MacLibel support campaign. When you were preparing to deploy, did you become aware of the existence of the McDonald's support?
Yes.
MacLibel support campaign? And its connection with Helen Steele and Dave Morris?
Yes.
And the connection between the SDS through John Dines to reporting on Helen Steele and Dave Morris?
I was aware there was a connection, yeah.
What was the extent of your awareness?
Just that there was a connection.
What was the connection to your understanding?
That he was involved with that group. Just that he was involved with that group.
And that, did you become aware that Ms. Steele was trying to trace
Yes.
Mr. Dines? Can you recall when you became aware of that?
When I was a field officer on SDS, I remember it was discussed then.
And were you aware that there was an issue about liaison between the Metropolitan Police Service and McDonald's in relation to the litigation?
I was aware of that because it was publicly reported in the media.
Can we, and in relation to that, was there any discussion of that within the SDS?
No, I don't remember any.
Can you recall any conversations with you asking you to keep an eye out for anything?
I don't remember a conversation about it, but I think because of the John Dines Helen Steele connection, I would have reported anything that I became aware of that was relevant.
Can we have from Volume 3, Tab C12, 245591? This is a report dated the 20th of October 1995. If we could have the text expanded, thank you. Give you a moment to look at that.
Okay.
It's about a man in Vermont who is moderating an email subscribers list and has issued a bulletin relating to the MacLibel support campaign and an action in Dunedin, New Zealand.
Yeah.
Is this the kind of information that you reported because of your background knowledge of MacLibel related issues?
I don't remember this report, but it looks like something I would have done, yes. It looks like a sort of routine thing that I've submitted, possibly.
Other than the fact it relates to the MacLibel support campaign, is there any particular reason why you would report about these events occurring in the United States of America and New Zealand?
I mean, I would just pass on anything to the office that was potentially interesting to them. I wouldn't sort of be limited geographically by that.
What is the relevance of this to public order on the streets of London?
I didn't say there was.
What is the relevance of it to crime in the Metropolitan Police District?
I'm not sure that I said there was that either. I just said it would be something which I would pass on as being potentially of interest.
I'm asking these questions because the point appears to be this seems to have no connection to either crime or disorder in the United Kingdom.
I couldn't say why I'd been asked to put it in.
So if you were reporting it because you thought it would be of interest to the office, why would this be of interest to the office?
I think probably because of the Helen Steele New Zealand aspect.
If we could take that down now, please, and have C22, 245766. And if we, again, it's 8th of December 1995, again, if we could have the text expanded. Thank you. I'll give you a moment to refresh your memory.
Okay.
So this seems to be about a press release relating to the MacLibel trial.
Yeah.
Again, could you help us with why you reported this?
It looks to me like it's a press release and I've just given it to the office.
And again, does this have any connection with criminality or public order, or is it being reported for a different reason?
I don't know. I think any flyer that looked vaguely related to any of the groups where there was an interest, I would have just handed them to the office. And if they thought it was they thought it was worth recording or submitting, they would have recorded or submitted it.
And so would it be fair to say, because this refers to the MacLibel trial and the MacLibel support campaign, it gets reported?
You'd have to ask the office that, I think, really. I don't edit. I just report to them.
You report it to the office?
Yeah.
For that reason, is that right?
Whether they think... I would report to them anything that came across in front of me that is even of potential interest to them. I mean, certainly Helen was a very well-known activist. She was obviously of interest to the office because of what was going on with her going to New Zealand at the time. So I think if something relating to Helen came up, I would have made the office aware of it. And whether they would have thought it was worth reporting or not is for them.
Given the interest in Helen Steele at that time, presumably no surprise to you that it was written up? Yeah,
no surprise, yeah.
If we could take that down, please. Could we have up from tab C14 245679? This is moving on to a different topic. This is Earth's First's Watley Quarry action on the 4th of December 1995. This is a report made in advance of that action, dated the 15th of November 1995. If we could just look at the paragraph 1, please, have that expanded.
Okay.
Thank you. How did you get this intelligence?
I was involved with Earth First. I can't remember this specific... this looks like it might have come off a flyer.
When you say you were involved in Earth First, at around this period, what was your level of involvement?
What's the date again? What year?
This report is November 1995.
Oh, in that case, I was still within my first few months, so it would have been very low level, I think.
Did you play any role in preparations for this action?
I'm actually not quite sure which action it was, because there was a few quarries, so possibly.
Shepton Mallet in Somerset.
Yeah, I know. I think I was on the action. I don't think I was an organiser of it. It would have been too early, assuming that date is correct. I can't actually picture being there, but I think I almost certainly was. But I wouldn't have been an organiser that early. That's too early.
Can you recall what happened?
No.
If we could take that down and have up 245779, tab C23.
Is this subsequent to that?
Yes.
Yeah.
If we have it's a weekly meeting of Reclaim the Streets, Tuesday the 12th of December 1995. So this is about a week after the action. If we have the text of the first 2 paragraphs.
Okay.
So the Watley Quarry action is regarded universally as a huge success, with substantial damage having been inflicted on quarrying equipment at the site.
Okay.
Earth First, the organisers, are convinced that local police were taken completely by surprise by the action. Does that do anything to jog your memory?
I think I know which one this is. I mean, ironically, to confirm that, I'd probably need to have a chat to the activists that were on it. But I think there was more than one quarry action that I was involved in, so I think I...
And does it follow? Yeah, were there more than one at which machinery was damaged?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, yes.
It goes on to say the organisers were convinced that local police were taken completely by surprise by the action. Yet we've seen that you put in a report in November ahead of the action. Can you help us with whether or not your intelligence was used or not?
No.
Thank you. If we could take that down, could we have up from C17 245714? This is a Reclaim the Streets meeting dated the 21st of November 1995, so a little bit before the one we were just looking at. It's a weekly meeting, records 26 people were present. This is your first report on an RTS meeting in time that we have recovered.
That sounds about right.
I was going to say, can you help us with how quickly you were able to get access to Reclaim the Streets meetings?
Yes, I was on a hunt SAB, and I recognised somebody on the SAB as being somebody that was involved in the Reclaim the Streets event at Islington. So I got talking to that person over the course of the day, and eventually got the subject round to something that was related to RTS, and she invited me to their weekly meeting.
And was that meeting an open meeting?
No, I don't think it was.
Can you help us with why it's your understanding that it wasn't an open meeting?
I don't think it was advertised. Depends what you mean by open meeting.
Well, can you help us with that nuance?
I don't think it was advertised, but people would have gone along who knew the other activists who were going. Does that help?
So not strictly by invitation only?
No, possibly not.
Throughout your deployment, did it remain the case that the meetings were not advertised, or did that change?
Well, some meetings were advertised. It depended what the meeting was. If it was the RTS weekly meeting, I don't... was it advertised? I can't remember. They got much bigger, so I think they probably must have been, because at one stage there were sort of 70 or 80 people every week, and I think that must have been advertised to get those numbers.
Were there also closed meetings?
Yes.
And what was could you help us with the distinction between the open and closed meetings with reference to the business that was transacted?
Well, there might be closed meetings for specific events, but in terms of Reclaim the Streets, when the meetings became much bigger, it was very difficult to conduct any business. Some people at meetings would be very disruptive, and what happened was that what I would describe as the core organisers group started meeting separately to the main meeting in order to actually get planning done, and would then prime the main meeting in advance in order to get what they wanted through the main meeting, which was the only way you could conduct business when you're trying to run by consensus.
And when that development occurred and the core group started meeting, were you a member of that core group from the outset?
Pretty close to the outset, if not at the outset, yeah.
In what I'm going to call the open meetings, okay. I appreciate the nuance in your evidence, but in the open meetings, how security conscious were RTS?
It would depend who it was. Some people were very switched on and others not at all.
Switched on to what?
to the possibility of infiltrators at their meetings.
What kind of infiltrators?
Police informants.
Were people ever asked to leave?
Yes, I think so.
In the core organisers' meetings, how security conscious were they?
I think everybody knew everybody else very well at those meetings, so it wasn't so much of an issue.
And in terms of the issues that were ventilated, what was it that was restricted to the core organisers group?
I mean, in terms of the business they were discussing? It was the long-term planning of the major events that the group did, and also more general sort of ideological discussion of the direction that the group should take.
Can I take it that your managers were aware that you had commenced attending RTS meetings in the autumn of 1995?
Yes.
I don't want you to utter any names, but were you tasked to target any particular individuals, by which I mean, was there anybody you were particularly being asked to keep an eye on, report on, anything like that?
I think there were some people who were regarded as being more active organisers that you were sort of asked to report anything of interest around some of those people.
Can you help us with whether what you're describing is a general briefing? This is what we know about RTS.
Yeah.
We want you to find out more. Or was it you're infiltrating RTS now, these are the people we specifically want?
More the former.
Can we take that document down now and have up C25 245 794? This is a report from the 22nd of December 1995. And if we could have, thank you. Give you a moment to scan it, but paragraph 2 is what I'm most interested in.
Okay.
It talks in the penultimate line of paragraph 2 of systemic attempts to cause serious traffic obstruction in a given area. Can you help us with whether did RTS organisers speak in these terms, or are you paraphrasing?
I'm probably paraphrasing.
Did the language that they used approximate more closely to taking control of a section of the road to demonstrate an alternative way of using that space?
They talk particularly in terms of the concept of a temporary autonomous zone, which is created by blockading an area and excluding the state and the police from that area. But there were also actions, I remember one down in Croydon, for instance, where it did seem to me just blocking for its own sake. And I was on the action where they attempted to block the M25, for instance. So both would be the answer.
Can we take that down now, please? Can we have from tab B44, 748, 100, the first page? And if we could have that expanded. This document is dated the 27th of August 1996 and bears Bob Lambert's initials. It's about you. I'll give you a moment to refresh your memory.
Okay.
This is about a meeting that you are said to have had with DCI Edmondson and DI Lambert on the 14th of August, in which you explained to them that your wife had left you in January.
Yeah.
Do you recall the meeting?
Yeah.
Is it right that your wife, your now ex-wife, left you in January 1996?
Around that time we decided to split, yeah.
Does that mean you separated?
Is this really relevant?
I'm afraid it is.
Okay.
Can you help us with... Did you cease cohabiting in January 96?
Yeah.
Did your activities undercover have anything to do with that separation?
You'd have to ask her. Sorry.
From your point of view?
I don't think it helps when you're doing a job that means you're never at home anymore. But I don't think SDS was the reason that we split up. Sometimes the reasons are on the other side. They're not all about me.
Pause a moment. Please, in the public gallery, keep quiet. This is evidence which is not necessarily easy to give, and it's important it's heard respectfully and in silence.
What advice were you given by DCI Edmondson and DI Lambert when you told them of your separation?
I wasn't given any advice at all.
Did they say that this affected your deployment in any way?
Not that I remember.
Did they give you any advice at all about sexual activity in your undercover identity now that you were effectively a single man?
No.
Why didn't you tell your managers about this development until August?
Possibly because it wasn't clear that we had irrevocably separated, perhaps. I don't think I would give my managers a running commentary on my private life as it was going on.
Did your ex-wife's departure affect how often you stayed in your cover accommodation?
Yeah, unquestionably.
And can you describe the difference that it made?
Well, look, from that time I've got nobody to go home to and no children. So after a while, there's no point in driving halfway across London just to visit an empty house. So I think I got into the habit of living full-time at my cover address and then just going home occasionally to sort of check the post or whatever. So I pretty much lived full-time under my cover address for, 4.5, 5 years.
So the existential experiment has become completely immersive?
Yeah, I guess it sort of invaded all aspects, yeah.
What was your understanding of why the SDS was interested at the recruitment stage in your home life?
I think they had decided at some point that they wanted to recruit officers who had a stable relationship or were married. And I think the reason they'd done that was to do with problems in the past in relation to relationships.
What gave you that understanding?
I don't remember. I don't think anybody would have... There was no sort of secret about that. I think that they thought they were better off. And I know there were other people who thought that was exactly the wrong way of doing it because it was dreadful for breaking up marriages. Although not this one.
We've had some evidence that at least one purpose was so that the officer remained grounded and had a secure anchor in their life. After August, your managers knew that you did not. Did they do anything to support you through what must have been a difficult period?
No, but nor did I ask them to.
Could we take that down now, please? Going to move on to the Good Easter hunt sabotage on the 10th of February 1996. Could we have up from tab C33 245940? This is a document dated the 13th of February. It's a report on the events 3 days previously. If we could have the text expanded, please. I'll give you a moment to refresh your memory, particularly from paragraph 2.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'm primarily interested in the arrests of Mr. Taylor, Mr. Leamy and Mr. Delaney.
Okay.
That occurred in a car park, didn't it?
Yes.
And you were present.
Yes.
And there was an incident with police which led to all 3 of them being arrested.
Yes.
And you were a direct eyewitness to that.
Yes.
And you were involved in communications with the police that took place leading up to those arrests.
Yeah, I was part of the group that was there.
Did those uniformed police officers know that you were an undercover officer?
No.
There's reference in paragraph 2 to the recovery of a number of wooden staves from the van.
Mm-hmm.
Could you describe these?
No, I couldn't because I don't remember them.
It says in this report that they were intended as weapons. Did you report to your managers that those pieces of wood were intended as weapons?
I don't remember. I'm not sure why the van would have been full of wooden staves otherwise, but I don't remember what that part of it.
Mr. Leamy's evidence is that it was firewood.
Is it? Okay.
Might that be right?
If he says so.
Your demeanour suggests a
I'm
certain amount of
that
cynicism.
I'm slightly sceptical that we were driving a Saab van round that was full of firewood, but fine.
Did you ever see hunt saboteurs use wooden staves as weapons?
I think I remember seeing hunt Sabs carrying them, but possibly, I don't remember. I can't be precise there.
Presumably, if one carries anything that might be taken to be a weapon, one is at considerable risk of arrest at a hunt sabotage.
It would depend on which Sab. The police in some areas, such as Essex, will arrest the Sabs for anything. And in other areas, less so.
A mass hit on a hunt in Essex.
The Essex police were particularly hostile to the Sabs.
There's a reference here as well to fireworks.
Yes.
What did you know about their presence in the van?
I was aware that there was a quantity of what they used to call bird scarers, which are small fireworks. They were manufactured by a company called Archer, and that's the same component used in the Operation Gant incendiaries.
Had you seen these fireworks used in the course of hunt sabotage?
But they were sometimes. You could just light an individual one to disrupt the hunt or the hounds.
Did you ever have any knowledge of their use for any other purpose by the people you were mixing with?
Well, I was aware that they were a component in the incendiaries for Operation Gant. Yes, the same manufacturer and the same pieces.
That's not my question.
No, but it's relevant.
My question is, do you have any actual knowledge of them being used for any other purpose?
Other purpose than?
Using them, as you've described, occasionally to disrupt a hunt?
No.
I can be more direct. Do you have any direct knowledge of them being used to construct improvised incendiary devices by the people that you were mixing with?
No, I was aware that it was exactly the same component and the same manufacturer, which, given that the targets were related to the Essex hunt, was very suggestive. And even more so, given that the person who purchased them, which seems to be excluded here, fitted the description for someone who'd been seen leaving the scene of one of the incendiaries.
And where did you, I mean, I don't want the source of it,
No, sure.
But where did you get that knowledge from?
That it fitted the description?
Yeah.
From the Operation Gantt briefings.
Did you discuss the arrests of these 3 men with your managers?
I've reported it, it looks like here. So
yeah,
yes.
you've certainly reported it. Did you discuss the arrests?
What, beyond the report?
Yes.
Possibly, but I don't recall that specifically.
Was there any discussion about what the arrest of these 3 men in the presence of an undercover police officer meant?
No.
Can we take that document down?
I wasn't actually present when Brendan was arrested. I was a few hundred yards away, and then I came over to the point where he was arrested, just to be clear.
If we could take that document down now, please, and could we have up 38277? I'm going to move now to the criminal proceedings which followed these arrests.
Okay.
This is a letter from a solicitor, Michael Schwartz, addressed to you in your cover name, dated the 3rd of June 1996, so
okay.
Approximately 4 months after the arrests.
Yeah.
I'll give you a moment to look at the text.
No, I've already read it. That's okay.
Yep. And is it right you received this?
It must be, because I must have handed it into the office. I don't see how we would have got it otherwise. Is this from the police file or from Mr.
No.
Schwartz? In that case, I may not have been living at that address anymore, so I may not have received it.
Well, let's go a little bit further.
Okay.
Can we have a look at 38278? This is if we can have a look at the top, it's got your cover details, yes. And if we go over the page, it says at the bottom, I'm willing to attend court and give evidence. This is a draft unsigned witness statement about the incident. Is it right that you, in fact, must have had a conversation with Mr. Schwartz, provided a witness statement and been sent a draft?
No.
Can you help us with why you're saying no?
I never provided any statement to Mr. Schwartz on this matter. I've never sat down with him or any of his staff or attended his office.
What about over the telephone?
No, I had a phone call. Well, there's 2 things. Firstly, when they were arrested, I was the one who phoned Mike Schwartz to tell him they'd been arrested. So that was a very brief phone call where I literally said, these people have been arrested, they want you to represent them. So that would be at the time. I remember getting a phone call. I didn't think it was from Mike Schwartz. I think it might have been from one of his staff, asking me if I'd be willing to give a statement. I think it was when I was in a different address, so not in Leighton. So it's possible that letter went to an address I didn't live at anymore. But I remember getting a phone call when I was going out the door by someone saying, would I be willing to give a statement on their behalf? Activists obviously always give statements in support of other activists. To refuse would be deeply suspicious, to put it mildly. So I said, yes, I'll give a statement if I have to. But I never gave any statement. I've never sat down with him or anybody else to give a statement. This would have been written in my absence, presumably with the intention of asking me to sign it. I would also say it was not uncommon for activists to be given statements to sign almost sight unseen in support of other activists, and I think that's what this is. I've never seen this statement before. Well, I've not seen it before now, actually. But I knew it existed, but I wasn't present when it was drafted. Nor was it drafted by reference to me over the phone. I had a brief conversation with them beforehand saying that I was willing to give a statement.
How certain are you that you did not give an account of events to Mr. Schwartz or anybody at his firm?
I'm pretty sure. I remember having a phone call from them when they asked if I would give a witness statement in support of Ben, and I said yes, I would. I don't think I had any contact with them again after that. I think I avoided it. I wasn't even aware there was a statement till it was on Newsnight about 10 years ago that I was supposed to have given this statement, and I haven't read it before.
You have made clear to me a number of occasions that we're talking about event 30 years ago and your memory is hazy, but you seem to be quite categoric about this. Is that fair?
It is. I'm aware that if there might be something now that I've totally forgotten about, but I don't recall any conversation with them other than that one on the phone where I said I would give a statement. And I certainly wasn't present when this was written, and none of it looks familiar to me in any way.
Did you ever receive this draft?
No, I wasn't even aware there was a statement.
Yeah. Can we have 38278? Well, we've got, I think, 37.
Okay.
Can we have 38278, please?
Yeah, this looks like a note from the phone call that I just told you.
Yeah, but this is the 10th. This is the 10th of June. Would be delighted to act as a witness. Just call back. Is that?
That's what it says.
And is that? Do you have any reason to doubt the factual accuracy of that?
No, because if they'd called me to give a statement, I couldn't have said. I think they would have called and said everybody on the SAB van is giving a statement in support of Ben. Would you give a statement? And I would have had to say, yes, of course.
Did you ever call back on the mobile number?
No.
Are you sure of that?
Well, if you're about to produce something saying that I did, then I don't remember that at all, because I don't recall having any further contact with them after this point. But, you know, this is 30 years ago, so apologies if I've totally forgotten about another phone call.
On the day of the trial, were you in a cafe nearby?
Yeah.
And was that because there was a possibility you might be needed as a witness?
No, the whole SAB van turned up in support of Ben, which wasn't unusual when someone from the SAB van was up in court. I remember that we were met on the steps by somebody, I don't think it was Mike Schwartz, I think it was somebody else, who thought that the whole lot of us sat in court looked intimidating and wouldn't assist the defence. So several of us who were judged to look the most intimidating were asked to go and wait in a cafe down the street. So about 3 or 4 of us went and sat in a cafe down the street.
Was anything said about the possibility that any of you might need to be called back to give evidence?
No.
Or that, in fact, a decision had been taken that you weren't going to be needed to take evidence, to give evidence?
Not that I remember.
Can we take that down now, please? There were also civil proceedings arising from these arrests, weren't there?
If you say so, quite possibly.
Did you have any discussions with your managers about them?
I don't think so.
Was there ever any discussion that you can recall about whether or not your identity as a UCO should be disclosed to either the criminal or the civil courts?
No.
Or to the prosecutors or the civil defence team?
Don't think so.
Were you given any assurances that your identity would be protected?
In relation to this specifically or generally?
Well, let's start with this specifically.
Don't remember that being the case.
So this is all going through the courts. What do your managers say to you about events?
Well, I've already said I don't even remember Ben suing, actually. So...
but did your managers know that you were going to support the defendants at the criminal trial?
Yeah, I would have told them that, unquestionably, yeah.
And did they say anything at all about
the advice
protecting you?
Oh, no.
More widely, is that because there'd been broader assurances?
Yes, you were given a very concrete assurance that your identity would be protected under all circumstances. In fact, that was quite a formal undertaking.
And did that include court proceedings?
It would have included everything, I think.
By which I mean, was there express reference to court proceedings, or was it just implicit to your mind?
I think it was probably implicit.
Could we have up 246537, please? It's tab C69. And if that could be expanded, please. This is a subsequent report dated the 6th of August 1996, and it has more information about the fireworks. Give you a moment to look at that.
No, I've read it, that's okay.
It says in the third line, were intended for general sabbing use and had been carried in Delaney's van for several weeks before his arrest.
Yeah.
I appreciate that this may not have been written up by you, but that is based on the intelligence you provided, isn't it?
Yes, I think that's, yeah.
No mention there to it being the same manufacturer and the same type of firework as it was believed had been used.
Not in this specific report, but that was made very clear. I think this report is specifically detailing the stuff that was in Brendan's van. The stuff that's in Brendan's van was intended for sabbing use.
And this information, did this come from your personal knowledge?
Looks like it, yeah. I can't see who else that could have come from.
Purchased over the counter from a specialist shop. Do you know whether or not a licence was required to purchase this type of firework?
No, that's not really my area.
Can you recall why it is that this information isn't in a report until August 1996, when the arrest took place in February?
I'm guessing, because I didn't put the report in, but it's possibly that I hadn't ascertained the name of the person who was responsible for purchasing the material, or perhaps I wasn't certain until that point.
But presumably you will have known about their intended use all along.
I knew those things were used in sabbing.
But you've said intended for general sabbing use, so that's something you knew throughout.
Yeah.
And the potential use of these fireworks, was that an issue between the police and activists in the discussions in the car park?
I don't know what the police said to Brendan when he was arrested, but I think the arrest related to specifically to that material.
And so the position is that a police officer, namely you, knew something about their intended use, but your evidence, or evidence you could have given about their intended use, was not anything that a prosecutor ever knew about.
Well, I'm not sure it was relevant. I don't think Brendan was prosecuted. I think it was Ben who was prosecuted, and Ben was prosecuted for nothing to do with this.
Can we take that down now, please? Can we have from C36 246028? This is a report dated the 5th of March 1996, but it covers an event in paragraph 2 from the 12th of February. If we could look at that, please.
Okay.
So there's a reference there to an attack on the Blue Arrow officers in Newbury on the 12th of February, during which extensive damage is said to have been caused. Were you present during the course of that attack?
No, I don't think so.
Can you help us with where this information has come from?
Not this far removed from the date, no.
Thank you. If we could take that down, please. I'm going to go back to Operation Gant. You've told us a little bit about the relevant offending that you were seeking intelligence about. Was there any discussion at any point with your managers about whether you would ever be involved in an evidential chain?
Oh, the expectation for SDS was that it wouldn't be. It was an intelligence long-term operation, not a short-term evidential one.
And was that topic discussed with your managers in relation to Gant?
Well, no, but that topic was discussed in relation to everything.
So just the general background is you were never expecting to give evidence in a court?
No.
I asked you questions about relevant intelligence you obtained through East London Animal Rights. I want to move now to whether you got any relevant intelligence through the Essex and East London Hunt saboteurs. Can we start with your witness statement? It's 36294, page 61, please. Paragraph 105.2. Now, I don't want you to name the person under the privacy redaction, but can you tell us how you identified that person as most likely to be responsible?
Because that was the person who had purchased the Archer fireworks. That person fitted the description of someone who was seen leaving the scene of one of the incendiaries.
Any more than that?
I mean, that would be enough, I think.
That's not the issue just at the moment.
Okay, I can't remember anything else on top of that, but I certainly would have thought that was enough to identify that person as most likely.
To pick up that thread, though, was that person prosecuted?
No. This comes back to what was discussed earlier. I think that there was then an IRA incident and resources immediately moved, and Gant went well down the priority list.
Presumably, if it had been enough, something would have been done.
I'm afraid that doesn't necessarily follow. It's resources rather than evidence.
Is it also because you couldn't give evidence as an undercover police officer?
I see. I couldn't say really. I don't know. At the time, I think it was mostly to do with resources. And it seems odd, but within police departments, priorities change and resources move immediately, and something can just sit there and never be resolved for a while. And this tasking came back ages later.
I need a yes-no answer to this question, just for the complete avoidance of doubt. This person is, the person suspected of being the arsonist is not Mr. Leamy.
No.
You go on to say that you've identified Ben Leamy as someone who had researched members of the Essex Hunt and identified their home addresses, which had been targeted for incendiaries.
Yes.
You've already given some evidence about addresses, but that was in relation to terriermen as opposed to members of the Essex Hunt. Is there a distinction?
Well, one is obviously a broader term.
How did you identify Mr. Leamy as someone who had researched members of the Essex Hunt more widely than the terriermen?
I don't know the answer to that, I'm afraid. Sorry, I don't know. It's a quite specific question.
How did you know that Mr. Leamy had been researching members of the Essex Hunt?
Because he discussed it in the pub, as you've already asked me that.
Yes. Any more than that?
Not that I can remember now, but there might have been. It's worth adding that the other person in the pub was related to the person whose name is redacted in here.
You told me earlier that you didn't actually see the home addresses.
No.
So it would follow, wouldn't it, that you would not be able to tell me whether those addresses were limited to those who had been the subject of incendiary attacks?
Correct.
Or indeed whether those addresses were of the people who were the subject of incendiary attacks?
Yes.
Yes, you couldn't.
But what you said was correct.
Yeah. So why does this say identified their home addresses which had been targeted for incendiaries? If you hadn't seen the addresses, you could not know.
Well, because it might well be. I think he named a couple of people who were there, but I didn't know the names. I'd need to be back there to remember exactly how specific this conversation was, because you're asking, was the conversation just about terriermen from the Hunt? Was it about other people from the Hunt? I mean, this is 30 years ago. I don't remember the word he used. I'm totally dimly remembering the conversation, to be honest.
So can I take it in those circumstances that you are not able to stand by the full factual accuracy of that sentence?
Not after 30 years, no.
Why isn't there any intelligence reporting on these matters?
I didn't know that there wasn't.
No, there isn't.
Well, then that should be a question for the handlers and the controller, then.
Did you have any conversation with managers about whether or not what you were learning was going to be put on record or not?
No, I would have just assumed that it was. That's the handler's role.
Did anybody say that this would be kept oral and not committed to writing?
No. Are you sure that all the reporting for this still exists?
I'm afraid it's
I can't ask you questions,
my
sorry.
job to ask the questions,
Sorry.
yours to answer them. Did anybody say anything to you to the effect that written intelligence reports might cause a problem in the event of a prosecution?
No.
There's a reference, as you'll see slightly higher on the page, to John Curtin. Mm-hmm. Did your contact with John Curtin come later than your early contact with the Essex Hunt saboteurs?
Yes.
What relevance, if any, did John Curtin have to Operation Gant?
I don't think he had any relevance to Gant.
Mr. Leamy strongly denies any involvement with the use of improvised incendiary devices. Are you in a position to give any direct evidence gainsaying that denial?
No.
Could we take the document down now, please? We're moving to an event which you've referred to a couple of times in your evidence already. It's a matter of public knowledge that on the 9th of February 1996, the Provisional IRA resumed its bombing campaign in London with a bomb at South Quay in Canary Wharf. With that in mind, can we have from B38 245 949? This is an internal file note, 16th of February 1996, with Bob Lambert's initials. If we could have the text expanded, and you'll see it's under the heading Operation Gant. I'll give you a moment to refresh your memory.
Okay.
So it appears that you have discussed the position with Mr. Lambert. Do you recall that?
Well, I would have discussed it with him. I can't remember that specific conversation.
And it appears from the graphic description at the end of that paragraph that SO13 thought that the bombing in South Quay was a much more significant criminal investigation and were turning to that instead of Operation Gant.
Yes.
D.I. Lambert appears to have been liaising with SO13 and seeking to avoid any searches or arrests. Was that to avoid any risk of compromise to you?
I would imagine so, but I wasn't obviously privy to that.
Did he tell you?
He might have done. I would have expected he probably did.
And then we see that there's an intelligence case that's been put together by a detective constable, and that you had met him on Monday the 12th of February to discuss it. Is that right?
If it says so, then I think that would be correct, yeah.
Says this was very productive and reassuring for the officer. Can you help us with whether or not it was actually very productive?
No, because I don't remember that specific meeting, sorry.
And presumably, if it had been very productive, inquiries might have continued.
Possibly.
Can we now take that document down, and could we have up from B38 245, sorry, could we, same document, could we have paragraph 2? Sorry. There's mention there to the possibility of resuming the investigation. To your knowledge, was it ever resumed?
The only thing I remember after the end of my involvement with it was that I became aware that the same tasking had come out again and been given to another one of my colleagues, because I remember seeing it and saying, we've already done this. The tasking was, can you investigate incendiaries and identify the person? And it was the same pattern. And so I remember seeing it, saying, we've already done it. We've already done it. And one of my other colleagues had identified the same suspect independently as well.
And was that in relation to what were then events in the past, and no further incendiary attacks?
I don't know, but I wasn't seeing the briefing notes then because I'd been switched full-time to the other field.
What was, that may answer my next question, was the consequence of Operation Gant being at least paused in practice for you that your attention from then on focused on RTS?
I think that would have been part of it, but I think the main thing was the scale of the Reclaim the Streets event on the M41, I think it was, in West London. That was a much bigger event than the previous ones, and so we got a stronger tasking in relation to that group in future. And so I was asked to switch across and do that full-time as a priority.
I mean, that was some months after this. Can you help us? That event was on the 13th of July, 1996. We're now in February 96. What did you spend your time doing in the 5 months between February and July 96?
That would have been both still.
So even though Gant had been shelved,
yeah, you would still be working generally in the animal rights activist field. You can't sort of leave it and just come to it when there's something of interest. It's activism as a continuous involvement. Did you continue to attend sabotages, etc., and to mix with hunt saboteurs purely to maintain your cover, or did you have probably? Probably. I think so. I'm not sure at what point I sort of attended my last SAB, I'm afraid.
But in terms of pursuing Operation Gant, was this the end of it for you?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And can you recall when your colleague was asked to resume investigations?
Quite a bit later.
Years later?
Might have been a year or two. I mean, might have been a year or two. I can't be precise. I'm sure there'll be a document of the tasking for that somewhere.
Can we take that document down now, please? Could we have from B40 728967? Page 9, please. This is the SDS annual report for 1995 to 1996. Did you play any part at all in the compilation of this document?
No.
If we can look on this page on the third paragraph down. Give you a moment to read that.
Mm-hmm.
It says at the end, this lead is being investigated under the auspices of Operation Gant. These reports are for the financial year, so it's financial year ending in the spring of 1996. We've just looked at a document from February 1996. You've told me that was the end of your involvement contributing to investigations, and we've seen that SO13 shelved the investigation. Am I right to think that this should have read, this lead was being investigated?
You'd have to ask whoever wrote the report 30 years ago. That's not my choice of word.
Do you have anything to gainsay the proposition that Operation Gant was put on hold?
I don't know if it was still being investigated as Operation Gant at the time this report was written. That would not have been my role. That's something for the handlers and the controllers.
Could we take that down now, please? And can we go in tab B36 to 527328, page 2. This is a briefing note for a visit by ACSO Venice to the SDS, which is going to take place on the 15th of February 1996. If we go to page 4, please. And if we expand that text, give you a moment to read that. Can you recall ACSO Vanessa's 1996 visit to the SDS?
I remember him visiting us more than once.
I'm asking about this particular event.
They probably both blend into the same visit in my head.
Well, we can deal with it all together.
Okay.
Visits by ACSO Vanessa. Did you speak to ACSO Vanessa?
Yeah.
In the presence of others?
Yes.
Can you help us with the sorts of questions that ACSO Vanessa asked?
The conversation that I remember clearly having with him was to do with large public order events in the anti-capitalist field and the intelligence requirement around that.
Was there discussion about how deeply immersed in the activist field you were?
Not that I remember.
Was there anything said that would have put ACSO Vanessa on notice that people might be having sexual relationships with activists undercover?
No.
Was anything said that might have alerted the ACSO to the fact that there were officers deployed, not you, but officers deployed who had used the identities of deceased children to help them construct their cover legends?
No.
Was there anything said that would have alerted ACSO Vanessa to the fact that criminal and civil proceedings were taking place in which the presence of undercover police officers was undisclosed?
I doubt it.
So would that be a convenient moment to break for lunch? I'm about to move to another topic.
Certainly. We'll resume a minute or two before 2 o'clock.